The planet Aurelia Prime was not kind to humans. Its skies were painted in constant shades of red and orange, whipped by violent storms that tore through the jagged landscapes like an angry painter with a cruel brush. Dust swirled in the air, carrying sharp particles that could cut through the toughest fabric and corrode exposed metal within hours. Yet the humans had built a colony here, stubbornly and brilliantly, a shining hub of life in an otherwise hostile world. Lieutenant Kira Voss had learned to respect the planet. She had walked its scorched plains, climbed its jagged cliffs, and survived the storms that had sent previous expeditions running back to orbit. Kira was a survival specialist and engineer, known for her ability to solve problems where logic alone failed. She had an uncanny way of seeing paths where others saw walls, and solutions where others only saw disasters. Today, however, even she felt the weight of the planet pressing down on her chest. The colony had reported system failures, strange fluctuations in the central energy core that powered life support, communications, and defensive systems. A single misstep could lead to catastrophic failure, and Kira had been sent not with a team but with her commander Rylan Chase to investigate. Rylan was everything Kira was not. Where she thrived in chaos, he clung to order. Where she improvised, he planned. He was the kind of man who could command 100 soldiers in battle and still maintain a calm, authoritative tone. Kira respected him, but she had learned early that his caution often slowed progress in moments where speed meant survival. The two of them moved across the colony's outskirts, sand crunching under heavy boots and the air shield of the colony barely keeping the storm from tearing their visors apart. Kira's mind raced with possibilities. Sensors had reported the failure in the energy core itself. If the core went down, the colony's atmosphere, water systems, and automated defenses would fail. Core sector is still online, but readings are erratic, Kira said, pointing to the holomap projected from her wrist console. Her voice was calm even as her pulse raced. Something's destabilizing the system from inside. Could be a mechanical failure, could be something else. Rylan's brow furrowed. Something else? You mean a sabotage? Kira shook her head. Not sabotage. Something foreign. Maybe a planetary anomaly. We won't know until we get closer. Rylan glanced at her, then at the swirling storm outside the colony walls. We need to move carefully. No improvisation. The storm could trap us outside if we rush. Kira's eyes followed the shifting dust and wind. She wanted to argue, but the storm was already unpredictable enough. Understood, she said, though inside her a stubborn flame of determination burned. They moved quickly through the colony corridors, past dormitories and storage hubs, to the energy core control sector. The normally humming hallways were silent except for the groaning of structural supports and the occasional sparks flying from malfunctioning circuits. Kira's fingers danced over panels running diagnostics, patching lines, and recalibrating sensors. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. A loud crack echoed through the hall, followed by a tremor that rattled the walls. Kira stumbled but recovered, her mind racing. Storm surge, Rylan said, gripping the edge of a panel. We should evacuate, Kira shook her head. Not yet. The core is unstable. If we leave, the system could fail completely. Another tremor hit, this one stronger, shaking the ground beneath them. Sparks shot from a console near Kira, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. Kira's eyes narrowed. She realized immediately what was happening. The storm had triggered a power surge. Rylan, back up, she shouted. I can handle this. I need access to the main core. He hesitated, then nodded. He understood her style. He had learned that trying to take control would slow her down or worse, get both of them killed. He stepped back, keeping his distance, standing as a watchful guardian, not an intervener. Kira climbed into the maintenance shaft leading to the energy core, wires sparking at her feet. Her heart pounded, but she felt alive. She was exactly where she needed to be. Carefully, she traced the fault lines, bypassing damaged circuits, rerouting energy manually. Sweat ran down her face, mixing with the dust and grime of the storm outside. The energy core thrummed erratically, a monstrous heartbeat that could fail at any second. Kira gritted her teeth and worked faster, improvising with whatever tools she had. Every connection she restored was a gamble. Every wrong move could fry the system or injure her. Rylan stayed behind, observing silently. His instincts screamed at him to act, to step in and take control, but he did not. He had learned long ago that some victories had to be earned, not given. He could stand beside her, offer support if asked, but the triumph had to be hers. Time stretched, the storm outside pounding with relentless fury. Kira's mind calculated possibilities and outcomes, weighing them against the limitations of the failing core. She discovered the cause, a strange energy anomaly, possibly a form of naturally occurring nanites or electrical life, feeding on the colony's systems. The anomaly pulsed unpredictably, destabilizing the core. Kira's jaw tightened. She had two choices: retreat and risk the colony failing, or confront the anomaly head-on. She chose the latter. Improvising, she constructed a makeshift stabilizer using panels and circuits from nearby equipment. Sparks flew as she connected the device to the core's main conduit. "Careful," Ryland's voice came through, steady and calm. "Don't rush." "I can't afford careful," Kira muttered, almost to herself. This is now or never. The core surged violently, throwing Kira back against the wall. Pain shot through her arm as metal burned her sleeve, but she pushed herself up. Her hands moved with precision and speed, overriding the core's automated systems. The anomaly pulsed again, almost mocking her, but Kira adapted, rerouting power, isolating the interference, stabilizing the system one delicate connection at a time. Minutes felt like hours. Sweat, dust, and adrenaline coated her body. The anomaly pulsed again, more erratic this time, as if sensing her determination. Kira's mind raced for a solution. Finally, she realized that the core's energy needed to flow around the anomaly, not through it. With a daring move, she diverted the main conduits, effectively bypassing the dangerous pulse entirely. A loud hum filled the chamber as the core stabilized. The lights flickered back to normal. The emergency alarms ceased, and the humming of machinery returned to its regular rhythm. Kira sank to her knees, exhausted, her breathing heavy but triumphant. Ryland finally stepped forward, not with the relief of a rescuer, but with the quiet respect of someone who had witnessed a remarkable feat. "You did it," he said simply. I didn't think you wouldn't have helped anyway," Kira interrupted, a small smile breaking through her fatigue. "You stood beside me. That was enough," Ryland nodded. Sometimes standing beside someone is the hardest part of all. Outside, the storm began to subside, the red and orange skies giving way to a dim, calm twilight. The colony's systems hummed steadily, alive again, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Kira looked at Ryland, then at the stabilized core. She knew this was only the beginning. Aurelia Prime was a harsh world, but humans were harsher still, and she, Kira Voss, would continue to prove it. The calm after the storm was deceptive. Aurelia Prime's red skies were still painted with streaks of orange and yellow, but the winds had died down, leaving a tense silence over the colony. Kira Voss emerged from the energy core chamber, her body aching and covered in soot, but her mind already scanning the holomap for the next challenge. Ryland Chase followed her closely, his eyes scanning the corridors. He did not speak. He knew better than to interfere. She had already proven herself in the core. Now the anomaly she had encountered was still out there, unpredictable and dangerous. And Kira was the only one capable of understanding it. "Sensors are picking up strange energy pulses," Kira said, pointing to a flickering reading on her wrist console. "Whatever caused the core instability isn't gone. It's adapting." Ryland's expression remained calm, though a flicker of concern crossed his features. "We may need reinforcements," he suggested cautiously. "No," Kira said firmly. "If we call for backup, we risk alerting the colony to panic. I can handle this. I have to." Ryland did not argue. He had learned a long time ago that arguing with Kira in moments like this was pointless. She had her way of seeing solutions where others saw walls, and he trusted that method, even if it made him nervous. Together, they moved deeper into the colony, past corridors that had suffered structural damage from the storm. Sparks from broken wires arced across the walls, and emergency lights cast long, trembling shadows that danced with every flicker. The energy anomaly seemed to be moving through the colony's systems, leaving instability and danger in its wake. Kira's mind worked fast. She traced the anomaly's path through the network, discovering that it was feeding on energy flows, almost like a parasite. If left unchecked, it could collapse the colony entirely. But it wasn't intelligent, it was instinctive, following the flow of power. That meant it could be trapped, if handled correctly. "This is going to require precise coordination," Kira said, crouching over a control panel. I need to isolate its path and reroute power manually. If I make a mistake... She let the sentence hang. Rylan nodded. I'll stay behind. Watch your back. You know I won't interfere unless you ask. Kira smirked slightly. Good. You're in the right role. The work was grueling. Kira moved from panel to panel, rerouting conduits, patching broken circuits, and redirecting energy flows. Sparks flew dangerously close to her arms as the anomaly pulsed through the system. It reacted almost like a living creature, destabilizing connections as soon as she repaired them. She had to think several steps ahead, predicting its moves while physically racing to repair the damage. Time became a blur. Kira's hands moved. With machine-like precision, even as sweat and exhaustion weighed her down, she ignored the throbbing pain in her shoulders and arms, focusing only on the anomaly. It pulsed stronger, almost mocking her determination. But Kira did not flinch. She was human, and she had learned that humans thrived under pressure. Rylan stayed close enough to observe, ready to provide verbal guidance or emergency support. But he never touched a wire. He never took control. He was a witness, a presence, a steadying force. But the victory had to belong entirely to Kira. Finally, she traced the anomaly to its core source, a cluster of corrupted circuits near the colony's main reactor. It was more dangerous than she had anticipated. The energy pulsing from the anomaly was unstable, threatening to overload the reactor and cause a catastrophic chain reaction. Kira's eyes narrowed. She had one chance. She had to contain it without destroying the system. Improvisation was her only option. Kira scavenged parts from nearby panels, conductors, insulated cables, and emergency energy regulators, and constructed a makeshift isolator. The device was crude, but it could reroute the anomaly's energy safely around the reactor. She attached it carefully, connecting multiple lines at once, her fingers trembling from fatigue. The anomaly pulsed violently, almost as if it sensed her interference. Sparks shot across the panels, and the lights flickered dangerously. Kira gritted her teeth. One wrong move and the entire colony could collapse. Almost there, she muttered to herself, breathing heavily. Her mind calculated every connection, every energy flow, every potential reaction. Then, with a final, precise maneuver, she activated the isolator. The anomaly's pulse surged one last time before being redirected safely around the reactor. The core stabilized, humming steadily as systems across the colony returned to normal. Emergency lights dimmed, warning sirens ceased, and the oppressive tension in the air lifted slightly. Kira slumped against the panel, her chest heaving. She had done it. Alone, Rylan stepped closer, finally breaking the silence. You did it, he said, his voice a mixture of awe and relief. I didn't think anyone could do that. I didn't need you to, Kira replied, managing a small smile despite her exhaustion. You standing here watching, it helped more than you realize. But I had to do it myself. Rylan nodded slowly. He understood. Leadership was not about taking control of every situation. Sometimes it meant standing aside, trusting others and witnessing their triumph. He had never seen someone handle danger like Kira did, and he respected her all the more for it. As Kira took a moment to recover, she noticed subtle signs of structural stress in the colony from the storm and the anomaly. She realized that their work was not over. Aurelia Prime was relentless. It would test them again in ways they could not predict. But for now, the systems were stable, the core secure, and the colony alive. Kira moved through the corridors, checking systems, reinforcing panels, and ensuring that every conduit and circuit she had touched was functioning correctly. Rylan followed, silent but observant. He knew better than to distract her. She needed focus, precision, and the freedom to act without interference. Hours passed. The colony slowly returned to a state of calm, though the storm outside had left its mark. Some corridors were damaged, some equipment destroyed, but the humans had survived, and the systems were functional once more. Kira allowed herself a moment of pride. She had faced the anomaly, the storm, and the failing systems, and she had prevailed. Not because someone saved her, but because she had saved herself. Later, as they walked to the observation deck, Kira looked out over the colony. The red-orange landscape of Aurelia Prime stretched endlessly, harsh and unforgiving. The wind had softened, but it carried a constant reminder. Survival on this planet would never be easy. Rylan walked beside her, silent, but she could feel his respect. "Tomorrow we'll need to start repairs," he said finally. "Some of the structures are unstable, and sensors indicate minor fractures in the outer walls. We should assemble teams." "I'll lead the repair efforts," Kira said firmly. "I know this colony, I know what needs to be done. You can coordinate from here." He nodded. "Agreed. But remember, sometimes it's not just about doing, it's about letting others do. You taught me that today." Kira smiled faintly. "And you taught me that standing beside someone doesn't mean taking over. It just means being there. Sometimes that's all a person needs." The sun, or what passed for a sun on Aurelia Prime, was dipping behind jagged cliffs, casting long shadows across the colony. The storm had passed, but Kira knew that more challenges would come, more anomalies, more tests, more moments where humans would be pushed to their limits. And she was ready. Humans were resilient. Humans were clever. Humans could endure what no other species might survive. And in the face of danger, Kira Voss had shown exactly why. She had faced the anomaly, faced the storm, and faced the possibility of failure. And she had triumphed, alone, with Rylan standing beside her, not as a savior, but as a witness. As night fell over Aurelia Prime, Kira allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She was tired, yes, but also alive in a way she had never felt before. She had discovered the truth. Survival was not about waiting for someone else to save you. It was about having the courage, the intelligence, and the perseverance to save yourself, no matter the odds. And that was a lesson she intended to carry forward into the next challenge and the next and beyond. The calm that followed the storm on Aurelia Prime was deceptive. Though the colony's energy core had been stabilized, the planet's red skies and jagged cliffs reminded everyone that danger was never far away. Kira Voss walked through the colony's observation deck, her eyes scanning the horizon. Rylan Chase followed her silently, his hands clasped behind his back. He had witnessed Kira's triumphs in the core and against the energy anomaly, but he knew this planet and the universe always had more tests in store. Kira's mind was already working. The anomaly in the core had been a warning. Something more dangerous could arrive at any moment. She studied the readings on her wrist console, noting subtle fluctuations that didn't match natural energy patterns. These signals were faint but deliberate, like a beacon. Her instincts told her that someone, or something, was coming. "Commander," Kira said finally, breaking the silence. "These readings, they're not random. I think someone or something is tracking the colony. If we don't prepare, we could be in serious danger." Rylan looked at the holomap and then back at the horizon. "You're saying an external threat? Something alien?" "Yes," Kira said firmly. "And I believe it's related to the anomaly. Whatever it was feeding on energy, it could have attracted attention. We need to strengthen the defenses, but more importantly, we need to plan how we'll respond without depending on reinforcements." Rylan nodded slowly. He understood. Aurelia Prime had always been a harsh proving ground for humans. If they relied on others, they could fail. But humans had a unique ability: ingenuity under pressure, courage when facing the unknown, and the determination to act even when hope seemed slim. Kira began organizing the colony's engineers and defense teams. She moved quickly, delegating tasks with precision. She instructed some teams to reinforce the outer walls and energy shields, others to secure critical systems against possible interference. She personally supervised the calibration of defensive drones, adjusting their targeting protocols for maximum efficiency against unknown threats. Hours passed. The red-orange skies shifted subtly as night approached, but Kira did not pause. She was everywhere at once, checking structural integrity, recalibrating energy conduits, and monitoring sensors for signs of alien activity. Rylan observed from the command deck, offering verbal support and advice but never taking control. "Lieutenant," he said after a long silence, "you're pushing yourself hard. Should we rotate teams, get some rest?" No, Kira replied without hesitation. Rest can come later. If they are coming, we need to be ready. I can't rely on anyone else to save the colony. I have to ensure it survives. Rylan gave a small nod. He had seen this determination before. Human determination. It was rare, stubborn, relentless, and often enough to defy even the odds of survival. Standing beside her, he felt pride not as a rescuer, but as a witness to her incredible resolve. Then the first warning came. Sensors detected a massive object entering Aurelia Prime's atmosphere. The colony's defensive drones activated automatically. But Kira knew that automated systems alone would not be enough. She watched the approaching fleet through the observation deck's reinforced glass. Sleek, metallic ships, unlike anything humans had built. They emitted a faint energy pulse that resonated eerily with the anomaly from the core. They've come for the anomaly, Kira said, her voice calm but sharp. Or they're here because they sensed us tampering with their energy source. Rylan stepped closer. This could be disastrous. Should we call for help? Kira shook her head. No, help might not arrive in time. If we wait, the colony could be destroyed before anyone arrives. We need to act, ourselves. The ships descended, hovering above the colony, energy shields crackling against the planet's winds. Kira took a deep breath, her mind racing through possibilities. She had already saved the core and contained the anomaly. Now she had to defend the colony with strategy and human ingenuity. Kira moved quickly, issuing instructions to the colony teams. She rerouted power from non-essential systems to the drones, increasing their speed and maneuverability. She modified the energy shields to create layered defenses, making it harder for the alien fleet to breach critical points. Every move was precise, every decision calculated. The first wave of alien scouts attacked. Drones fired energy pulses, intercepting incoming projectiles while Kira monitored every trajectory. The humans were outnumbered, but their coordination was precise. Kira's modifications gave them the edge. Drones moved in patterns that the alien scouts could not predict, forcing them to retreat repeatedly. Rylan observed, amazed. You're orchestrating this like a general and an engineer at the same time. Kira did not look at him. Her focus was complete. This is survival, Commander. I've trained for this. Humans can adapt, humans can endure, and humans can triumph. Hours passed intense combat. The alien fleet adjusted, sending heavier ships toward the colony. Kira realized that the automated drones could not hold them off indefinitely. She needed a plan that went beyond technology. She needed strategy, creativity, the kind of ingenuity that only humans possessed. She turned to Rylan. I need a diversion, something to make them hesitate. Rylan thought for a moment. We could create a false energy signature from the outer perimeter. Draw them away from the colony. Kira nodded. Good, do it. I'll focus on rerouting shields and defenses to critical areas. Together, they implemented the plan. Rylan coordinated the energy decoys while Kira strengthened the main shields. The alien ships detected the false signals and shifted their focus, allowing the colony's defenses to gain critical breathing room. The diversion worked. Kira exploited the moment, recalibrating the energy drones to execute a coordinated counterattack. Their strikes were precise, targeting the alien ship's propulsion systems and forcing several of them to retreat. Kira's combination of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability allowed the humans to outsmart a technologically superior enemy. After long hours of tense action, the alien fleet finally retreated. The colony had survived. Humans had triumphed, not because reinforcements had arrived, not because of luck, but because of their intelligence, determination, and resilience. Kira slumped into a chair on the observation deck, exhausted but alive. Her eyes scanned the horizon, watching the last alien ships disappear beyond the cliffs. Rylan stepped beside her, his expression one of quiet admiration. You did it, he said softly. You saved the colony. All of it. Alone. Almost. I wasn't alone, Kira replied, finally allowing herself a small smile. You stood beside me. That's all I needed. I had to do the rest, Rylan nodded. You've taught me a lot, Kira, about courage, leadership, and humanity. Sometimes the greatest victories come from allowing someone to rise on their own. The night fell on Aurelia Prime. The red skies turned darker, dotted with distant stars. The winds had calmed, and the colony, battered but resilient, continued to hum with life. Kira looked out over the settlement she had protected, feeling a quiet sense of pride. Humans had survived impossible odds once again. For Kira, the victory was personal and universal. She had faced the storm, the anomaly, and now the alien threat, relying not on anyone to save her, but on her courage, intellect, and resourcefulness. That was what made humans special. Their ability to endure, adapt, and prevail, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Rylan stood silently beside her, a witness to human resilience. He did not need to act because sometimes the most powerful action was simply to be present, to trust others to do what was necessary. As Kira prepared for the next challenges, repairs, training, and anticipating the unknown, she knew one thing clearly. Aurelia Prime, and perhaps the universe, would continue to test humanity. But humans had something no other species could replicate: courage, intelligence, and the will to survive and thrive. And Kira Voss, standing at the edge of the colony, watching the stars, felt that same indomitable spirit burning within her. Humans could face anything. Humans could endure anything. And humans could save themselves. The future of the colony and perhaps of humanity was uncertain, but Kira was ready. She had faced the impossible, triumphed, and learned the truth that every human could carry. Strength, courage, and ingenuity were the keys to survival. Not someone saving you, but saving yourself. And for now, that was enough.